Primary ignition.
Welcome to Unlimited Power. My name is D-Rod, and here's my guide for playing Fennec Shan at your local Shadows of the Galaxy pre-release for Star Wars Unlimited, the trading card game. Now, if this is one of your first time watching my pre-release videos, I always want to start off by talking about the goal here. The goal is to look at some commons and uncommons within the set that will work well with this leader, their abilities, and the different aspects that may be available to you. Yes, there are going to be some rares and legendaries that fit really well with these leaders, but you're only going to get 6 booster packs in your pre-release kit. This means your chances for getting some of those rares and legendaries are going to be very low. But commons and uncommons are really going to be what fill out your deck and keep you on tempo and consistency. So that's why I want to focus on the cards that may be easily more accessible for you. Let's go and start looking at Fennec and their abilities as a leader in a leader unit. Now, Fennec is one of my favorite characters in the series so far. They are an amazing actress. We've seen them in a lot of different shows, whether it was, the Marvel Shield series. She was actually Chun-Li in the original Street Fighter movie. This actress has a history of playing a lot of strong female leads. So I was impressed when this card came out. I really want to make her work, whether in a constructed or limited format. Now, as an action, her ability says you can pay 1 and exhaust her. So here's kind of the restrictions here. You always want to keep 1 resource available, and this means you can only use it once per turn when you have to exhaust them. But you're able to play a unit from your hand that costs 4 or less and give it ambush. So I like this. I like the idea that any unit that's 4 or less has that ambush mechanic, so you can play a little bit aggressive here. Now, if you're trying to play a unit that costs 4, this means you can only do it when you have 5 or more resources, right? Because you're going to need 1 resource available to make this trigger work. But you can really get away with, surprising your opponent, throwing stuff at them they weren't expecting, and I think there's a lot of value there. Now, as an epic action, as long as you control 5 or more resources, you can deploy this leader, which means you can do this as early as turn 4. When they're deployed, they're a 4/4 unit with Saboteur, so they can ignore Sentinel, and they can defeat enemies' shields. And as an action, you can play a unit that costs 4 or less from your hand and give it ambush for the phase. Now, this is not limited to once per turn. So if you have enough resources, you could do this multiple times in a action phase, which I think is pretty cool. Let's go and start looking at some of the cards within her colors, yellow and white, that would be good to use this with. The first one I'm going to recommend is Liberated Slaves, a low cost unit that costs 3. That's a 3/5. It has completely blank text and it's a common. You'll probably see 1 or 2 of these in your pack, and I think this is a great one to play because it's a 3/5, so it can really survive a lot of hits. It can go in there, defeat a lot of units that only have 3 health. You'll pay 4 to make this happen. I really think that's fair. And again, you may find yourself with a lot of these units in your pre-release kit. The next is going to be Coruscant Dissident, another good one that you could play for 4. Allow yourself to swing into your opponent's unit. It's a 3/4, so it probably won't die. And on attack, you're able to ready a resource, so you'll be able to get something more value out of it when it attacks. And next is Principled Outlaw. This is another one with an on-attack ability, which is why I like it. If you pay 5 to give it ambush with Fennec, or you can wait for Fennec to be deployed, you're going to be able to exhaust a ground unit when you attack. This is a really fun underworld unit that, again, plays into what Yellow's trying to do, which is a lot of combat tricks. I like it. Now, in the cunning aspect alone, I'm going to recommend Privateer Sick because this is a 2/2 unit that costs 2. It goes into space, and as long as you have another yellow unit in play, you can put a shield on it. So I think that's always good when you're playing yellow units to play cards like this because you'll get a little bit more bonus for playing them and little penalties. The next is going to be Enfys Nest. I really enjoy a lot of Yellow's high cost cards, but Enfys Nest is probably going to be the one that's going to work best for you because this one is a 6 cost unit that says that's a 5/4 that comes into play with ambush. And it says while a friendly unit, including Enfys himself, is attacking using ambush, the defender gets -3, -0. This is great This really strengthens a lot of your ambush mechanics you're using with Fennec, whether she's in play or not. It can really protect your units while they're swinging. Look at other cards like Chain Code Collector. They have ambush already, and when they swing into a unit, as long as that unit has a bounty, the unit has a -4 attacking whenever you're defending, or sorry, whenever it is defending. Apologize there. So cards that can protect themselves with ambush are going to be strong. And look here, the emphasis isn't saying the card has to have ambush as a keyword. It just says when they are attacking using ambush. That is what Fennec is doing here. It's allowing those cards to attack with the ambush mechanic. So this will work really well. Last is Ma Klanuki, a one-cost event that allows you to return a friendly non-leader underworld unit to its owner's hand. Most of these units we looked at are going to be underworld, especially in the cunning aspect. So this is a great one to just bounce to your hand. Maybe they took a little bit of damage with that ambush ability, and you can deal 3 damage to one of your opponent's units, and then, go ahead and play that card with ambush again at full health. Now, I think aggression is probably going to be a very strong color here with Fennec because I look at a card like Valiant Assault Ship, right? It's a 4-cost space unit that's a 3/4 with Saboteur. Sentinel does not matter for this assault ship. And it says on attack, if the defending player controls more resources than you, this unit gets +2/+0 for the attack. So not only can you give yourself ambush here, you can give yourself a +2, making yourself a 5/4, and you can just swing into a shielded unit, take down the shield, hit them for 5, and take advantage of Fennec's ability. Heroic Renegade's another good one. When you're looking at units that you want to ambush in, you should really think about the value that can be there. Maybe they have shields, or maybe they have grit like Heroic Renegade. The Renegade gets to immediately swing in, hit a unit. If they don't die, then they're just going to have more power whenever the opponent decides to swing into them. Or if you're lucky, you get to hit their base with a much stronger unit. This unit can only take 2 points of damage, which means the strongest it's going to be able to hit is 4. But again, I think there's value here in playing cards that have these types of keywords or get shields put on them. The Tension Block Rescue is a great event in an aggro package because it's for 3 resources. You can just deal 3 damage to a unit. If that unit happens to be guarding a captured card, deal 6 damage to it instead. Now, I just spoke about how well shields are going to work with this type of package and leader. Let's look at Village Protectors as an example. You can ambush Village Protectors in, and they come into play as a 2/2 Sentinel with shield. You can go ahead and swing into a unit with the shield. Maybe you kill it, maybe you don't. Either way, Village Protectors take 0 points of damage, and now they're a Sentinel unit, and your opponent has to swing into them again. Get some value out of this card, right? This value is one of the cards we joke about all the time in my local group because it's 3 people, 2 sticks, and that you can really see here. Well, really, you can see the 3rd stick, but it's 3 people, 3 sticks. That's a 2/2. Make it feel like they're a 3/3, right? Have them swing into somebody and have someone else swing into them. I think there's great value here. Rose Tico, this is a great uncommon you want if you go into blue. A 4-cost unit, so you can ambush in at 5 or wait for Fennec to be deployed. She comes into play with a shield, and she's a 2/6 unit. But on attack, you can defeat the shield token on themselves and give her 2 experience tokens instead. So let's say you really got to finish some off a unit and you don't because it's really close. You can make that choice yourself, destroy your own shield, make yourself a 4/8, take out that unit, and you'll still you'll have plenty of health remaining, right? I think that's pretty good. I would rather do 4 damage to a unit than 2 and survive when I know I can deal 4 and probably still survive as well. And if you're worried about not having enough units to get the job done, that's where Rivals Fall comes in. It's a common, so you should be able to get 1 to 2 of these pretty easily in your pre-release kit, and it allows you to defeat a unit just at 6 resources. And it does not matter if the unit is a leader or not. So strong card here. Green, I think, is also going to work here for the Fennec Shan. Let's look at the Kirax Heavy Fighter. It's a 3/3 unit with Overwhelm. Overwhelm means if it hits a unit, any excess damage that goes over that unit's health is going to go to the opponent's base. So Ambush and Overwhelm, those things go together, just like peanut butter and jelly. Um, and on attack, you can even exhaust another friendly unit and give it +3/+0 for the attack. So you can turn this card very easily into a 6/3 overwhelm ambush unit. Value in this card. Now let's look at Freetown Backup, another card with an on attack ability that says you can give another friendly unit +2/+2 for the phase. Again, make this card work for you. Maybe you're going to smuggle it in at 4, or you're going to use it first with Fennec Shan's ambush ability, and then you go again, right? A lot of fun stuff here. Next is a Scanning Officer. No on attack ability, no overwhelm. Really, it's just one I want to bring to your attention. Scanning Officer is a great one at the uncommon slot because for 2 resources, when played, you can reveal 3 of your enemy resource cards. Defeat each of those resources that have the smuggle mechanic, which in this limited format, you may be able to catch a lot more smuggle than you think. And then for each resource defeated this way, a controller puts the top card of their deck into play as a resource. Now, when a new card comes into play to replace a resource, it will be exhausted. So imagine playing this on turn 2. Your opponent has 3 resources in play. You play Scanning Officer, and all 3 resources you reveal are smuggle mechanics. Well, now your opponent just lost their whole turn. You have a body out, and they lost 3 more cards off the top of their deck. I think that's pretty great. When we go into the heroic aspect, the first card I'll recommend is Smuggler's Aid. This is just a great card when you're playing the aggro package as you are, to just smuggle this card and heal 3 damage from your base when you really need it. It will cost you 3, but again, it's a great one to resource early on. Gray Squadron Y Wing is probably not a card you want to ambush with, but if you have to, a good way of doing it is waiting till your opponent only has 1 unit in play. Maybe it's a Black Sun fighter that has a Sentinel and it's a 3/2. You could play this card, ambush it in. On attack, it forces your opponent to choose a unit or a base, and they have to deal 2 damage to that unit. So you can get some value here like that if you need to ambush it. But if you don't ambush it, it's still a great card. Wookiee Warrior, however, you want to ambush because of that grit mechanic we talked about earlier. You may find yourself with a couple of Wookiees because they are a common, and that's great because when you play this card, as long as you have another Wookiee in play, you can draw a card. And drawing when you're playing this type of aggro package is also very important. Finally, for non-aspects, let's just look at Lady Proxima. Not a card that you want to ambush, but because you're playing Cunning, you will be playing a lot of Underworld cards, so let's get some damage on your opponent's base. It's essentially just going to pull a little bit of your opponent's hate. They're going to want to deal with Lady Proxima because you'll be playing such an aggro package. They have to hit this big old worm. Because you are playing Underworld units, Street Gang Recruiter is a great one to bring back some amazing units, whether they're Fennec Shand unit, Enfys Nest, or anything else. This 4/4 unit here is great because it will grab any Underworld card from your discard pile and put it in your hand. Lastly, is going to be Twin Pod Cloud Car, a 3-cost space unit that is a 2/2 with Restore 2. If you can get this out on turn 2 and your opponent just doesn't have a space unit, you're just going to be aggressive and you're going to be able to keep that gap between your opponent's base and your base very wide, because you'll continue hitting your opponent and increasing damage there while also lowering the damage on your base the whole time. This is my guide to kind of playing Fennec at your local pre-release. Let me know how it goes. Are you excited to play her? What aspect did you get? What rares and legendaries? What was your overall win-loss record? Did you have fun? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments below. I wish you luck at your local pre-release, and may the Force be with you.